Bienvenidos, amigas y amigos, a nuestro programa, nuestro podcast, What is the Jewel, where we unpack the gospel for the week and provide you with a deeper sense of it by searching for the jewel within the gospel. Soy su co-host, la doctora Claudia Álvarez Roddy, y hoy el Padre Benjamín anda en una conferencia, and so he won't be joining us. But today I do have a guest speaker, and his name is Mr. James Roddy. You want to introduce yourself?
Hello. It's editing these week to week for the last year. It feels weird to actually be behind the mic as the talent today. So this is very interesting. But I couldn't see you do this alone today. So here I am.
Well, thank you for joining us. We're super excited. For those of you who are joining us for the first time or you haven't heard our other podcasts, we do have James. He's our editor. He's the one who puts everything together, puts the music in. I tell him, nope, that didn't sound right, or I stuttered, or whatever. He's our editor. And so, I'm excited to have you today. And one last note for, again, those who are joining us for the first time. He is my husband. So it's a perfect day for us to share this podcast together. So I'm excited to have you.
Awesome. Thanks for having me.
So, we're super excited for this podcast this week. And so, como siempre, we invite you to open up your hearts, your mind, your ears, and let the Spirit move you this week. So with that being said, let's get started. All right, my dear. So I do have a question for you, as we always start off our podcast here. You had asked me to start off with one, but I'm actually going to change it up for you.
Ooh, suspense. It's killing me.
All right. Tell me a defining moment in your life.
Wow. Coming out of the gate swinging. Defining moment in my life. I mean, there's definitely a lot in there.
It's okay. You don't have to say our marriage. It's fine.
It's funny. I think when I was in high school, I was really into acting. I was into theater, and there was a point in that journey of wanting to be an actor where I thought I was going to be an actor. That was going to be my career path, and that's where I was going to go. And then as I think my second year in high school, I think I was a sophomore, and I was trying out for the high school play, and it wasn't a really stiff competition. I mean, there was technically more women than men that would audition for stuff. So my I guess that's why I felt like it was working for me, because I was like, oh, the competition's not that bad here. But I was not getting the parts as easily as I used to, and I think there was one particular audition. I just went into it already just kind of questioning what it was I was doing there, and I don't feel like it went well. And then a few days later, I looked at the cast sheet they put up, and I had a small ensemble part, and I know what they say. There's no such thing as small parts, only small actors. But I kind of felt small in that moment. I think that was a time when I realized what kind of a career this could be, and was it meant for me, and was it something I could keep doing? So I remember walking away from the school after finding out, what part I got, and I just kind of like went on a solo walk, and I didn't know where I was going. I just kind of went on a walk, and I stopped at this playground, and I just sat in the swing, and I think I just decided in that moment I wasn't going to be an actor anymore. And I'd finished high school. If I did plays, I just did them for fun, but I was no longer making that a career choice anymore. So I think it was around that time that I started looking for other avenues that were kind of in the same direction. And that's when I said, maybe filmmaking is a good career choice, because then I have a little bit more control of where I can go. I can create the opportunities for myself instead of waiting for somebody to give me the opportunity. So I went with that. Of all people, my Spanish teacher taught me. She was teaching me Spanish 1. She saw my interest in wanting to be a filmmaker, and of all people, she was the one that gave me a flyer and said, "Why don't you go to this CalArts program, and it's for young filmmakers, and it was for a bunch of other artists, but there was a category for filmmakers, and I said, all right, well, what the heck, my dad helped me put a little short film together. I did like a little adaptation of Oh, the Places You'll Go by Dr. Seuss, and I made the movie. It was the first time I took making a movie very seriously, and I edited with 2 VCRs back in the day, and
People are going to be like, what's a
I
VCR?
know, right? I know, seriously. Well, back in our day, the VCR had a little bit of tape in them, and you put it in the VCR and you press play, and you got an incredible sound and picture quality out of it. What they didn't tell you was after 5 plays, the quality gets worse and worse. And what they didn't tell you was that 20 years from now, everybody wants to replicate that look. But anyways, I digress. I submitted it, and they accepted me, and I took the summer class, and I met all these other filmmakers in my age range, and it was a very eye-opening experience. I got exposed to a lot of interesting movies that I never thought of before and was educated about, and I learned about, filmmakers, and basically became, started my journey of being a cinephile, and that was the end of that. That was
Mm.
the defining moment, and I haven't looked back from that. I haven't had a moment where I stopped and said, I'm not doing this career path anymore. I'm still doing it.
Right.
So if I were to say a defining moment, it would definitely have to be that moment.
I love it. Well, yeah, for me, I have to say that kind of laugh because I was thinking, I think I've shared this before of the memory when I graduated from college. But a defining moment too was the moment I was given a call. I was looking for work at the time and I had just finished my master's degree from St. John's. And the next thing I know is I had submitted my applications all over and kind of totally forgot I had sent it out to like these schools. And it wasn't until that moment where I got a phone call from the first principal I ever worked for. And for me, that was a defining moment in the sense that I I had given up on trying to find a job so hard. And instead I kind of just let go of it. And when I get that phone call, I remember just kind of like having oh my God, like finally somebody's looking at me. And and that was where I was able to start my career as an educator. And even though I no longer do that in the brick and mortar experience, like I'm not teaching in a classroom anymore, I think it definitely set so many foundations. Like I was in my late 20s when I started doing that, went into my late 30s doing, as a teacher, 11 years of being an educator, but it set the foundation of who I am in the sense of I I love to teach. I mean, I think this podcast in a sense allows me and gives me that room to teach people. But I'm constantly finding ways here and there. And like even with our salsa business company, I'm always trying to think about, okay, how can I educate other folks about what it is to start a business? And so yeah, I think that that's always going to be my defining moment is receiving that phone call from my first principal at the time and hearing her voice. I didn't know who she was, and hearing her voice tell me, I like your resume. I don't have a position for you that meets your qualification, but I really want to hire you. And that just kind of like felt validating and just, I don't know, it was just such a beautiful experience, and I'm forever grateful that I got that opportunity to enter the classroom even though I had decided I didn't want to be an educator when I was in Cal State Long Beach. So it's kind of funny, to hear your story, but it was just a full circle. It was almost like, no, you were supposed to be an educator, and we're gonna figure out how you're gonna be an educator. So yeah, defining moment. It definitely put me in a different place. So Yeah, I think this week's gospel kind of there's defining moments, in this. And so, as always, I want to remind you that we're always in the presence of God and we're going to be proclaiming the a gospel according to St. Luke. Jesus told his disciples a parable about the necessity for them to pray always without becoming weary. He said, "There was a judge in a certain town who neither feared God nor respected any human being. And a widow in that town used to come to him and say, 'Render a just decision for me against my adversary.' For a long time, the judge was unwilling. But eventually he thought, 'While it's true that I neither fear God nor respect any human being because this widow keeps bothering me, I shall deliver a just decision for her, lest she finally comes and strikes me.' The Lord said, 'Pay attention to what the dishonest judge says. Will not God then secure the rights of his chosen ones who call out to him day and night? Will he be slow to answer them? I tell you, he will see to it that justice is done for them speedily. But when the Son of Man comes, will he find faith on earth?'" The Gospel of the Lord. Praise to you, Lord Jesus Christ. All right, so I love this gospel because there's so many different things that are coming up. First of all, I love that Jesus puts up this image of the story of the judge, right? So as I was once again just going through it right now, even just hearing him talk about how like this judge did not care. He didn't believe in God and he had no respect for the people around him. And I love that this widow is just I can almost picture it. Like this widow, we don't know if this widow was young, if this widow was older. We don't know what the story is behind it. Like no nos dice el evangelio que ella hizo, por ejemplo, tenía algo que necesitaba que alguien le robó. Or, like, there's no mention of what the story is behind this widow. All we're hearing is that this judge finally decides, okay, fine, I'm going to give you what you need. And I think he had been like so fed up with like this widow constantly coming to him like, "Okay, can I have my decision now? Can I have my decision now? Can I?" And then I think in that like, "Okay, I just don't want to be bothered anymore." He finally does it. But then Jesus says, "Look, if this judge, this honest judge has that kind of energy, what makes you think that God won't do the same?" Right? And if we say that God is obviously he's not a dishonest God, right? What makes us think that God's not going to answer our own prayers? And I think that's where I want to go with the podcast today, you know. What is it that Jesus is asking us in this week's gospel? I think a few things. Number 1, I think it's that persistence, right? Of like continuously asking God for those things that we need. Now, mucho ojo, because one of the things that I realize is that sometimes we're just constantly asking God for things. It's almost like when we're like little kids, constantly asking for the next plushie and the next toy and the next thing. And we're just giving it away. And there's no appreciation for what has been asked for. Um, I think there's a difference, when you're a child and your parents have told you no, 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 no for something, and then you get maybe not the big thing that you had asked for, but they give you something that's on a smaller scale, but still something that you wanted. And the appreciation might be a little different. The appreciation might come like, wow, like they allowed me to get this. And so I feel like sometimes when we ask God for things and there's a delay, it's not necessarily because God doesn't want to give us those things, but perhaps because we are not in a position, maybe, I don't know, to appreciate things. And I think that this idea of like this widow coming to the judge constantly is that invitation for us to constantly keep coming to God and saying, "Look, these are the things I need." But the other part that really catches my attention is that last line at the end of the gospel where he's like, okay, will the Son of Man find people with faith when he comes back? And I think that's the hardest part, right? Because it makes me think about how hard it is to have faith today. Um, Part of it too is because of all the things that we're seeing. We're constantly seeing sorrow, chaos. I mean, we're seeing, a lot of the situations that we're seeing within our own communities with immigration and the raids and the kidnappings that are occurring to our people. I mean, llega un momento en el cual tú dices, ¿cómo es posible que Dios existe? If we're seeing and witnessing all these destructions, like I feel like so many of our brothers and sisters who are atheists and claim that God is not real. I at some point, I don't blame them in that belief because I can understand. It's like, okay, if there was a God, why is all of this happening? But as I try to even explain to Isaiah, it's like, well, God has allowed us to obtain free will, right? Like he's given us these like foundations to say, okay, we're not supposed to kill one another. We're supposed to love one another. We're supposed to feed one another. We're supposed to clothe one another, right? Like all these different things that we're supposed to do for one another. But yet God can't control those things. And so therefore he kind of like backs off and goes, I've given you your like what you're supposed to do with one another, but that's like an up to you kind of thing. Um and I think that part of it is where a lot of people might find themselves saying, well, I'm not seeing any of this happen, right? So I think for us as believers, I think this is an opportunity to question ourselves, how is it that we are living out that faith? And if we are in relationship with God, if we say that God is real, right? If we're saying that God is real, how are we making it real for others around us? And I think that part of that question that he's asking, will the Son of Man find people with faith? It's an opportunity for us to take a step back and go, okay, why am I still coming back? Why am I still coming back to talk to God? Why am I still coming back to talk to, not only to talk to, but to have relationship with God? And that's something that we have to like question ourselves. Why do we keep coming back? When I was preparing this, I came across this quote from St. Augustine, and he said, God delays not to deny us but to enlarge our desire. Y se me hizo muy curioso esa frase, that God is not denying himself from us. He wants us to come back. So, tal vez cuando tú estés pidiendo algo y tú sientes que Dios no te contesta, que Dios no te está escuchando, que Dios no te quiere dar lo que tú quieres o lo que tú estás necesitando, it's not so much because he doesn't want to give it to you. It's this desire to come back to him. Keep coming back to me. Right? Like keep coming back to me. And I think that's what we're seeing here. And I think when Jesus is saying, will he continue to see more and more people when he comes back, will he see that? Will that be strong and present? And I think that's something that we need to continue to ask ourselves. Can I continue to come back to God and have relationship with God? See, God's silence is not punishment, but rather an opportunity to prepare us for what is to come. Right? Like you and I have this business, right? And how many times do we not sit and be like, oh my God, like, how are we going to do this? Right? Like that trouble of, are we going to make it? You know?
Yeah, every month is a hard thing to get through with it, and you can look back at our when we both lost our jobs at the same time, and it was suddenly just it was a dry desert out there we were awoken to as far as opportunities. Um, that was you could definitely say that was why aren't we getting
Mm.
the opportunities now? We have all this experience now. We just came back from, working at this company for so long. We have so much experience. Why does nobody want us?
Mm.
There was a lot of there was, that, and that lasted a long time. There was a long period where it was just, it really felt like there was no end in sight to, the horrible things that were happening to us in our first year of being married.
Yeah, and yet one of the things that for me it was very true and still true to this day is I did not lose hope in God.
No, you did not, because I think month 1 after after countless rejection letters from robot LinkedIn interviews, I was literally just at the, "Why did I do this? I blew my career. I put all my chips in this one thing. It blew up in my face. I have nowhere to go." And you just always had this like, "No, we're gonna make salsa and we're gonna figure this out."
Yep. Y me da risa porque a veces yo digo, oh my gosh, like here I am. I've taken this into therapy so many times. I'm like, how is it possible that I have a PhD and nobody wants me? It was either I was overqualified or underqualified, and now I'm selling salsas. And it's not that I'm saying like I'm above this. I'm not, because to be a business
I
owner,
was gonna say, yeah, running a business is definitely not. There's only a small percentage of people in the world that actually will, go that far with the idea.
yeah.
Most of the time it's just like, oh, let's start it, and then a few weeks later, so that job offer that you were giving me a month ago, is that still open?
Yeah. No, and you know what? You just made me think right now. The idea that, so God, I love when things just kind of connect. We both lost our jobs, right? And then so I'm here asking God, like, okay, give us somewhere to go, right? But neither of us were getting anything. And it wasn't until like we did start the business that we started to see doors just kind of open.
Hmm. Yeah, absolutely. It was a slow crawl, and as you said countless times, there's no playbook to starting a business,
Mm.
especially, the salsa business. It's like there's you had to figure all this out on your own. The answers were never just handed to you. You had to do the grunt work of going in there and figuring out everything, looking into the health department, roadmap, the um all the financial things, and even to this day, you keep us on track.
Well, and I think part of it is true, like that idea again, going back to so maybe we didn't get the jobs that we were wanting to get. My therapist told me, she goes, Claudia, sometimes we're so fixated on we have to have a 9 to 5 and the good pay and stuff like that, but we don't realize that sometimes that is not what we need anymore. It goes back to having relationship with God. A veces nos quedamos tercos en que no, esto es lo que necesito, and we don't allow God to work in that process. I come back to what the priest said 2 weeks ago in his homily. He said, and I think I said this last week, he said, how many times are we asking God for so many different things, but we don't even allow him to work on the first thing we started off with, right? So you'll like I have so many different ideas that you and I talk about all the time, like, oh, we should do this, we should do that. But I still and I ask God, like, okay, help us get to these spots and places and things, and let's get these things moving. But I have to kind of almost like step back for a little moment and go, you know what? There's a reason why we're not there yet. So let's focus on what we currently have right now. And if that means we're just selling at a few markets, then so be it, right? But I know the time will come. And again, it goes back to trusting the process and allowing God to flow and work his way through those things. And I can't tell you how many times when I go out, a veces no me dan ganas. Like I really sometimes I'm just so tired. I'm like, I don't want to go to the market. But once I'm there, once I start talking to people, once I start interacting with the customers or even other vendor friends, and I'm just like, wow, look at the connections I made today. right? These were the opportunities. These were pinpoint opportunities I had to either evangelize with my life, educate people about whatever might be in that moment that they might need. It could be as simple as you could use this for, a recipe that you can make your life easy, or somebody just shares their story and I give them the time and space to share it, right? Like, I don't know. I still don't know the bigger picture of why we're in this position. And I think that's the part of like Jesus asking, will he find people on earth with faith? And I hope that when he does, there's going to be a bunch of us with faith. And I think the jewel for this gospel is to be able to still say, I still trust you. And that's the hard part, right? That's the challenge of this week, is to be able, despite everything that's happening in our lives, to still be able to say, Yo confío en ti. I still trust you. And I think that's the beautiful part of this week's gospel. But it's the hardest, but not impossible. And I think that's why God delays not to deny us, but to enlarge our desire. And that should be pulling us to go back to God, to pulling us to go back and build relationship with God. Because that's what this is all about. The whole journey is to be in relationship with God. So I think this is a great place for us to end this part. And as always, I invite you to, if it feels comfortable, to go ahead and close your eyes if it feels safe. And I want you to think about that ability to trust in God. Does it feel like it's just all over the place? Like you want to? There's a part of you that wants to, but you're just so scared of like what happens if you ultimately give yourself 100% to God. You give your whole life. What would that look like? To take this moment to just imagine yourself for once letting go of what people think, what people expect, or what will people experience of you, because you are letting yourselves fully immerse yourself in relationship with God. Amado Padre, hoy venimos ante ti pidiendo que tú nos ayudes a seguir confiando en nuestra jornada, seguir confiando en ti, en todo lo que hacemos, todo lo que te hemos pedido, confiar de que tú últimamente vas a hacer lo que necesitamos, no lo que tal vez queremos o decimos entre sí, esto es lo que yo necesito, pero tú ves más allá. Y por eso hoy en este día te pedimos de que nos ayudes a ver de que lo único que nos pides es tener esa relación contigo y poder seguir diciendo en ti confío. Ayúdanos con esas palabras, que sea lo que nos motive todos los días que nos levantemos, decir en ti confío, en todo lo que nosotros nos ponemos en hacer, en lo que decidimos decir, actuar, que todo siempre sea en ti confío. Dear and gracious God, we thank you for this moment. We thank you for this opportunity that you have given us to reflect on this week's gospel. Allow us to continue to grow and to continue to say that we trust in you. You know our desires, but more importantly, allow us to continue to grow in relationship with you. Because at the end of the day, there's nothing more beautiful than this relationship that will continue to grow and help us to be better people, especially to those who don't want to believe anymore, who have lost faith. Help us to bring back the faith in those people that are walking without you, and allow us to be gentle with them. And if we are losing faith, Lord, please send those people to our lives so that
we can continue walking this faith and continue building relationship with you. And we ask this all through Jesus Christ our Lord. Amen.
Bueno, pues amigos y amigas, hemos terminado nuestro podcast of What is the Jewel. We hope that you have found this podcast to be of blessings. Let's continue to grow our faith, and we're excited, for what's to come. And thank you, my dear. I really appreciate you joining me today. As Benjamin is out. We love having you again.
Watch out, Ben. I'm taking your job.
Well, amigos y amigas, nos veremos la próxima semana in What is the Jewel. Don't forget to go ahead and share, subscribe, and hopefully, we're going to be available to you to be able to continue growing this podcast. Así que nos veremos la próxima semana. Hasta luego. Bye.
Bye-bye.